Alright guys, I am back yet again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 1 of my Dark States Luquier deck. So version 1, everything through the second additional card pass, so through D-Booster Set 10. And this deck is another one of the encounter decks based around Luquier and the classic Pale Moon Silverthorn units. And it focuses on bouncing your rear guards in and out of your soul in order to gain various effects and extra attacks every turn. So very classic Pale Moon style. So as always, we will be going through the deck and then we'll show it off in one card fight for you to see it in action. So starting first with the ride deck, we have our Grade 0 starter, which is Silverthorn Assistant Ionella. So when she's rode upon, if you want a second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter, like always. And of course the first of our Pale Moon encounter cards. Next for the Grade 1, we have Silverthorn Assistant Irina. So she has two auto abilities. First one says when this unit is rode upon by a unit with only Pale Moon for its clan, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one card from among them, put it into your soul, and shuffle your deck. So this skill is just a free +1 to your soul. It lets you check the top 7 and put anything you want. So it can help you dig for your vital combo pieces that you want to have in your soul, and potentially get one of those set up in there for later. And of course just increasing your overall soul count as well. So then she also has her second auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rear guard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Luquier in its card name, you may soul charge 1. So we're not running her in the main deck, but this deck's whole thing is superior calling units from your soul. So she does end up on rear guard circle sometimes. So if she does end up getting called, then you do just get a free soul charge. So another nice little resource engine for the deck. Next for the Grade 2, we have Silverthorn Marionette Lillian. So she also has two auto abilities. First one says when this unit is rode upon by a unit with only Pale Moon for its clan, you soul charge 1 and choose a card from your soul and put it into your hand. And then her second auto ability says when this unit is placed on rear guard circle or put on guardian circle, if you have a Vanguard with Luquier in its card name, this unit gets power plus 5,000, shield plus 5,000 until end of turn. So the first skill is a free +1 to your hand when you ride over top of her. It does soul charge as well to replace the units that you're putting from your soul into your hand. So it doesn't decrease your soul counts either. So any card that you have in your soul that you would rather have into your hand, this can get it there. So if you soul charge something off of Arena's skill, like a Perfect Guard or a Persona Ride copy or whatever, you can nab that into your hand for later. Alternatively, if you already have a Grade 2 in your soul that you want to call off of Luquier's skill, you can add Lillian herself from your soul to your hand, and you'll still be able to use her second ability, since it'll work when she's called to rear guard from anywhere, so you don't specifically have to call her from soul. If you call her from your hand to rear guard, she'll still get the power up, or if you just guard with her from hand, she'll still be the 10k shield. So the second skill is also very versatile, making her a 15k attacker or a 10k shield from anywhere. So if you want to call her from hand, if you want to call her from soul, whatever you need to do, this card will have it covered. So a very versatile and helpful card for this deck. So then lastly for the Grade 3, we have Silverthorn Dragon Tamer Luquier. So she has an activate ability that says once per turn, you can counterblast 1 and put a card from hand into your soul. To choose up to 3 unit cards with different grades from your soul, call them to rear guard circle, and if your opponent's Vanguard is Grade 3 or greater, those called units get power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So this is a very powerful skill, getting you 3 units from your soul onto your board, as long as they are all different grades. So you do have to put a card from your hand into your soul to activate this skill, so it ends up being a +2 overall to your board. which is still pretty good. And of course you can just call out the one you put from hand into soul if you want to. So very helpful skill in letting you get your board set up. We also have a lot of cards in this deck that have abilities that activate specifically when they're superior called from the soul. So this will also allow you to use any of those abilities. And of course it powers up all the units that you call as well, assuming your opponent is at least a grade 3. So very powerful skill, helping you build your board, helping you increase your offense dramatically, and basically being the combo starter for most of the cards in this deck. So then she also has her auto ability that says at the end of your turn, you can put 2 rear guards into your soul and draw a card. So this lets you cycle some of the rear guards that you called out of your soul with her ability right back into it, and then get a draw to replace them. So your units are obviously much safer in your soul than on your board, since your opponents won't be able to retire them or bind them or whatever. So it helps you protect your vital combo pieces by putting them back into your soul to call out again next turn. And it also gets you a draw out of it to increase your hand size as well. So this second ability is very nice to just help you continue your plays in future turns. So overall a very cool Vanguard for this deck. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we of course have our 3 additional copies of Silverthorn Dragon Tamer Luquier, the secret rare alternate art, looking very, very nice. So next we have 2 copies of Circulate Acrobat Urselte. That's my best guess on these names. But anyway, she has her auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from soul by the ability of your Vanguard with Luquier in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 and Countercharge 1. So this card is the Countercharge engine for the deck, which obviously Luquier herself has a Counterblast cost every turn. We also have a very vital normal order in this deck that is also a Counterblast. So between using those every turn, you can eat through your Counterblast pretty fast. So having this consistent Countercharge option is pretty nice. We also have a fairly consistent way of getting her into her soul as well, which I'll go over when I get to the grade 2s. But you do need to get her into your soul in order to activate this ability, since you specifically have to call her out with Luquier's ability in order to activate this skill. But you can get that countercharge off of her when you superior call her, and then of course at the end of the turn you can tuck her right back into your soul to call out again next turn to reuse this skill again and again. So this card is the only grade 3 rearguard we're running in the deck, so it is obviously the primary grade 3 target to call out of your soul off of Luquier in order to continuously regain that resource. So definitely an important card for the deck, but since we do have a way to search it, it is fine as just a 2 of. So then lastly for the grade 3s we have 4 copies of our normal order, Hurry and Join Loyal Servants. So this card can be played from your soul, and you can play it with a Counterblast 1 if you have a Vanguard with Luquier in its card name. And it lets you choose one of your rear guards, and it gets a new auto ability until end of turn that says when your Vanguard attacks, you can put this unit into your soul to choose a card with only Pale Moon for its clan and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your soul, and call it to rearguard circle. So this order is a very vital card for the deck. You do want to be playing this order every single turn as soon as you hit grade 3, since it does allow you to get a 4th attack every turn by shoving one of your rear guards into your soul when your Vanguard attacks, and then calling out a Pale Moon from your soul. So you can target any rear guard you want with this skill, so you don't have to target specifically a Pale Moon to put into your soul, but you do have to specifically call out a Pale Moon, which your primary target for this is Rising Dragon, which is one of our grade 2s I'll be going over here in a second. But getting that 4th attack every turn is obviously very vital for this deck, so you definitely want to have this at 4 of, which one of the very nice things about this card is that it can be played from your soul. So if you shove it into your soul with Luquier's cost or whatever, you still can go ahead and play it from your soul with that Counterblast, and it just goes to your drop like normal, as if you played it from your hand. So if you do use this card to pay Luquier's cost, it effectively negates her cost as well, since, you know, you'll still be able to use that card as if it was in your hand. So absolutely one of the most important cards for this deck. So that is all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Silverthorn Rising Dragon. So he has an auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you can put a card from hand into soul and draw a card. So this ability is just a hand filter. It doesn't plus since you're putting one to soul and then drawing one, but it can get to your combo pieces set up into your soul. Again, if you have a copy of the order, you can shove it into your soul with this and then still play it out of your soul. And of course it does just increase your overall soul count, so it can help pay for some of the soul blast costs in this deck as well. So still a very helpful ability. And then he also has his continuous ability that says during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Luquier in its card name, and 2 or more of your units were placed on rearguard circle from soul this turn, this unit gets power plus 10,000, and if 4 or more were placed, it gets an additional power plus 10,000. So Luquier's ability will let you call out 3 units from your soul, so he should always be at a minimum of 20k base. And then thanks to your order, since you'll be putting a unit into your soul and calling another one out, that will be your 4th call that turn from the soul. So at that point he would become a 30k base on his own. So a very powerful beat stick for the deck, one of the most important offensive cards in this deck. And of course the primary superior call option to call from your soul off of your order skill. Since he is a Pale Moon and counter card, you can call him out, and at that point he will be hitting very big numbers. So next we have 4 copies of Steam Performer Togue. Again, I'm trying my best with these names. But her auto ability says when this card is put into the soul by your card's ability, if you have a Vanguard with only Pale Moon for its clan, you can bind this card to search your deck or drop for up to 1 grade 3, put into your soul, and if you search the deck, shuffle the deck. So this card is a very important card for the deck, helping you get your Urseltes and or your order from your deck or drop into your soul. So that'll set up Urselte to be called out off of Luquier's skill to be your countercharge engine, or it can get your order in there in order to be able to play it every turn, which her skill is triggered by being put into your soul by a card's ability, so we obviously have a multitude of ways to trigger that in this deck. You can shove her in there for the cost of either one of Luquier's abilities. You can shove her in there for the cost of Rising Dragon's on-call ability. You can get her in there off of your ride deck. If you just randomly soul charge her, that will count as well. So we have plenty of options to pull that off, and it can be very helpful in getting your necessary combo pieces where you need them to be. So then lastly for the grade 2s, I am just running 1 copy of Trapeze Actress. So she has 2 auto abilities. First one says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you can Soul Blast 1 to choose one of your Vanguards with Luquier in its card name, and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. And then her second auto ability says when this unit is put on Guardian Circle, if you have a Vanguard with Luquier in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 and this unit gets shield plus 5,000 until end of that battle. So this card isn't super necessary, really. She can be a power-up for your Vanguard if you place her on rearguard, or she can be a 10k shield if you guard with her. Honestly, I am mostly just running this card for the artwork, so if you want to replace this with anything else, you can feel free to do so. But she can be a nice, helpful offensive or defensive option for the deck. So that's all the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 3 copies of Silverthorn Breathing Dragon. So his auto ability says when this unit is placed on a back row rearguard circle from soul, if you have a Vanguard with Luquier in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 to choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets a continuous ability until end of turn that says all of your front row rearguards get power plus 5,000. So this is another good offensive option for the deck when you superior call him from soul off of Luquier's skill. he can grant the ability to your Vanguard, powering up your whole front row. So that should make all 4 of your attacks that turn 5k stronger. So he's just a good card to call outs from Soul on your push turn when you're trying to go for the win. Strengthening all your attacks is obviously very helpful. So he's nice to have that option in the deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Luxual Songster. So her auto ability says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from Soul, until end of turn, this unit gets power plus 5,000. And a new auto ability that says when they attack this unit boosted hits, you can put this unit into Soul and draw a card. So another ability that has to be activated when she's called from your Soul. So she gives herself 5k power, and if your opponent's at grade 3, then Luquier's skill would have gave her 5k as well. So at that point she'd be an 18k booster with an on boosted hit skill that can let you put her back into your Soul and draw a card. So that will cycle her back into your Soul to potentially reuse her again later, while also giving you that draw. Now she does have to hit in order to get that off, but she can hit into anything, so if you're desperate for the draw, you can always attack into a rear guard, and your opponent will be less likely to guard it. So this card is more useful early game. I usually like calling her out as my grade 1 from the Soul on turn 3. And if you put her behind your Vanguard's going to be swinging for really big numbers at that point. So your opponent's pretty likely to let it through, since they'll be at low damage at that point anyway. So just another potential draw option for the deck. So next we have 2 copies of Steamskara Zargon. So her auto ability says when this unit boosts, you can choose a unit boosted by this unit, and it gains a new auto ability until end of turn that says when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you choose up to 2 cards from your drop and put them into Soul. So again, this is another on hit ability, but it can potentially get 2 cards from drop back into Soul. So this can be used to cycle copies of your normal order from drop back into Soul to potentially reuse them. But honestly, overall, the most important use of this skill is to just increase your overall Soul count to help pay for some of those Soul Blast costs for Celte or whoever. So requiring to hit a Vanguard can make this skill a little inconsistent, and of course late game, if your opponent's already at 5 damage, it's pretty much useless at that point. So if you want to replace this card with any like generic Dark States Soul Charger, so Brainwash Swirler, Ling, Gung Ram, Avid Heaper, whoever you want. If you'd rather run some of them in order to just keep your soul count up, you do have that option, but it's pretty much player preference. I am just sticking with 2 copies of this since early game, you know, if you can put it behind a big number hitting rearguard like Rising Dragon or whatever, you have pretty good chances of her being able to hit and getting that extra soul charge. So the only other grade ones we have are our Sentinels. So first off, we have 3 copies of Recusal Hate Dragon, just your standard perfect guard. And then additionally we have our 1 copy of Elementaria Sanctitude, Nationless Blitz Order, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which is 8 crit, 3 front, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 4 copies of Lively Breath Dragon, so just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 4 copies of Stem Deviate Dragon. So crit with a skill, at the end of the battle it boosted, you can put it into your soul to choose one of your units, and it gets power plus 2,000 until end of turn. So this card can actually be more useful in this deck than some, since it can be a grade 0 in your soul that you can continuously call out off of Luquier's skill if you want to. And he would be a 9k booster at that point thanks to Luquier's skill if your opponent's at grade 3. And if you put him behind a grade 2 like Rising Dragon, that can help him hit magic numbers. And then you just shove Stem Deviates back into your soul and give that 2k power to either Celte or Luquier. and if they have a booster behind them, that could help them hit magic numbers as well. So more useful in this deck than some. So next up for the fronts, we have 3 copies of Diabolos Girls Natalia. So front with a skill, if your opponent's Vanguard's greater or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So your 20k shield, front trigger. And then for the heals, we have 4 copies of Direful Doll Alexandra. So just the vanilla heal. As always, if you want to run any of the effect heals, you can feel free to do so. And then lastly for the over trigger, we have 1 copy of Hades Dragon Deity of Resentment, Galmageheld. So his additional effect says you get during your turn, all of your Vanguards get power plus 10,000, critical plus 1 until end of this fight. So grants a skill to the fighter, giving you basically a permanent crit trigger onto your Vanguard. So it definitely makes that center column a lot more threatening. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And let's see, we'll fight Ren this time. And we will be going first. Alright, so we can discard one of these Rising Dragons to ride Arena, and then just end our turn. Vanguard attack. And we'll go ahead and let that one through. Alright, so now we'll discard that crit to ride Lillian. And the Arena skill will let us look at the top 7, and we can put one from deck into soul. So we found our order, so we'll put a copy of that into soul for later. And anything I call right now will get retired by Blast or Dark, so I think I'm just going to attack. No guard. Damage check. Stand and draw. すべてを闇に包む我が分身スキル発動スペリオルコー我が闇は光を塗りつすアビリティブラストグリーディネスシャドウ So now Blaster Dark skill would let him retire one of our rear guards, but we don't have any. But he does gain an extra drive check off of that. So I'll go ahead and let that one through. And we get a front trigger, nice. Vanguard attack. And he needs a trigger for that to even hit, but he does have twin drive. But I'm gonna let it through anyway. And he gets a crit trigger, of course. So that is going to put us to 4. But his rear guard Blaster Dark won't be able to hit us now. And we get a crit that is wasted. Alright, so let's go ahead and discard that crit, I guess. To ride Luquier. So then Lillian's skill. We'll let a soul charge one, and we can add one from soul to our hand. So I think I'll go ahead and add Lillian. So then I'm going to call Rising Dragon over here. And use his skill to put one from hand into soul. So we'll go ahead and put Togue. And we get to draw one. And we drew Togue right back. But now we can use Togue's skill to bind ourselves from the soul. And we can add a grade 3 from our deck to soul. So we'll add Urselte. So now we'll go ahead and use Luquier's Activate ability to counterblast one. And put one from our hand into soul. So we'll put Luxual Songster. And now we can call 3 from our soul with different grades. So we'll call out our grade 3 Urselte, our grade 1 Songster, and I guess we'll go ahead and call the grade 0 Ianella. So put her in the front. We'll put Songster behind our Vanguard. And we'll put Ianella over there. And they do not get a power gain because the opponent's Vanguard's only grade 2. But we can use Songster's ability. And she'll gain 5k and her on boost hit skill. So then we can use Urselte's ability to Soul Blast one. And counter charge. So next we'll go ahead and activate our order card, Hurry and Join Loyal Servants, from our soul. So we can counterblast one again. And choose one of our rear guards to gain the new auto skill, so we'll choose Rising Dragon. And with that, I think we're ready to go. So we will go ahead and attack with Rising Dragon first, not boosted. He gets a crit trigger. So then we can attack with Luquier, boosted by Luxual Songster. And now we activate the skill granted to Rising Dragon by our order to put him back to our soul and call out a Pale Moon. So we'll call Rising Dragon right back. And we can activate his skill again to put a card from hand into our soul. So we'll go ahead and put Togue. And we get to draw one. And Togue's skill will let us bind her again from our soul. To go ahead and nab another copy of our order from the deck. And we get a heal trigger, which we do get. So we will heal one. And we'll give that power to Urselte. And since that attack hit, we can use Songster's ability to put her back into our soul and draw one. So now we can go ahead and attack with Urselte. And he intercepts. And then we can attack with Rising Dragon once again, boosted this time. And it gets a crit trigger that is wasted. So now that it's our end phase, we can use Luquier's second ability and put 2 of our rear guards back into the soul. So we'll go ahead and put our front row units back in, and that lets us draw 1 again. So Phantom Blaster Dragon did retire our 1 rear guard, because that's all we had, and then gains 10k in a crit. And a superior called his heal trigger. And we'll go ahead and let that one through. And I think I'll perfect guard that just to be on the safe side. So let's see, we'll discard Songster. And we just need 10 to guard that, so I think I'll guard with Lillian. And her skill. We'll give her an extra 5k shield. Alright, so now we can Persona Ride. So let's see, we will go ahead and use Luquier's Activate ability right off the bat. So we counter blast 1. And we put 1 from hand into our soul, so we'll shove that order. And now we can call out our 3 units of different grades. So this time we'll call out Urselte, Rising Dragon, and Irina. And we'll put Irina behind Rising. And they all gain an extra 5k this time. So we'll resolve Irina's skill first to let us soul charge 1. And then we can resolve Rising Dragon's skill to put 1 from our hand into a soul. So we'll go ahead and shove that crit. And then draw. And then Urselte's skill will let us soul blast 1 out. So we'll blast out Songster to counter charge. So then we'll go ahead and call Zargon behind Urselte and activate our order again from the soul. So we counter blast. And again, we're going to grant this skill to Rising Dragon. So I think we are good to go. So we will attack with Rising Dragon first, not boosted. So then we can attack with the Luquier and Rising Dragon skill. Puts him to soul, and then we can call him right back out. And we could activate his on-call ability again, but I'm actually not going to. And he's going to perfect guard Lukier's attack. So next we'll attack with Urselte, boosted by Zargon. And Zargon's skill will grant the on-hit ability, which probably isn't going off. Yep, because he perfect guards again. But we can still attack with Rising Dragon, boosted by Arena, for a whopping 53,000. And he perfect guards again. And he doesn't have to discard this time since he only got one card left. Well, it took triple perfect guards, but he did survive. So we can go ahead and use Luquier's second ability to shove our front row back into the soul. And drop. And he does get his cross ride into Phantom Blaster Overlord. So let's see, I will go ahead and let that one through. And we'll get a crit trigger, nice.
Vanguard attack. Power
I think I'm gonna perfect guard it just to be on the safe side. So we'll drop one of those heals. And he gets a heal trigger, which he does get. So let's see, we need 25 to block that. So we'll guard with that front and Breathing Dragon. Alright, so we should be able to get him this turn, so I'm actually going to go ahead and declare final turn. So then we can Persona Ray. So now with Luquier's ability, we will Counterblast and go ahead and place one from hand into our soul. So we'll shove Breathing Dragon. And now we can call out our 3 units of different grades. So we'll call out grade 1, Breathing Dragon, grade 2, Rising Dragon, and grade 3, Urselte. And they all gain 5k. So then Breathing Dragon skill will let us Soul Blast 1. And give the skill to our Vanguard to give everyone 5k power in the front row. So our Urselte skill next will let us Soul Blast 1. So we'll Soul Blast Stem Deviate to let us counter charge. And then Rising Dragon skill will let us put Songster from hand to soul. And draw. So now once again we play our Hurry and Join Loyal Servants from our soul to counterblast again. And grant the skill to Rising Dragon. So now we can go ahead and attack with Rising Dragon first, not boosted. So then we attack with Luquier, boosted by Breathing Dragon. And the skill granted to Rising Dragon once again puts him into our soul. And calls himself right back out. And we're not going to use his ability. And he guards and intercepts for 2 to pass. But we got our over trigger. So we're busting right on through with that. And we'll gain a crit as well. And we get a heal on top of it. So we heal 1. And we'll give that power to our Celte as well. So this is 2 crits, so this ought to get him right here. And yep, no trigger, so we got him. So there you go, that was my Pale Moon Luquier deck. Which I actually do really like this deck. This is a deck I ended up liking a lot more than I expected to. I never had a chance to play Pale Moon back in the day, so this was really my first experience with it. But anyway, I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I'll be doing Arcite. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.